This is the minimum commitment film theory in small doses, where the hero isn't always the slayer, and the dragon isn't always the monster. I'm Don Lawler, film scholar, dedicated decibel diehard, and someone who knows that when power shifts, the story gets rewritten. Let's get into it. The dragon is not the villain. This is the initial truth presented in Dragonslayer, not through explanation, but through image, tension, and ritual. Directed by Matthew Robbins, the film opens in fear. Villagers seeking help, hoping that magic might do what kings and gods will not. A beast has claimed their land, not just the mountains and farms, the law, the rhythm, the cost of survival. Every few seasons, a girl is chosen, her name drawn by lottery, her body offered, not to appease the dragon, but to preserve the lie that it can't be fought. The people bow to the system, not the beast, and the kingdom profits from their fear. Galen, the uncertain apprentice played by Peter MacNicol, becomes caught in this closed loop, called to the remnants of an age shaped by Ulrich the Wise, a sorcerer nearing extinction, portrayed by Ralph Richardson. Galen is not a warrior, not a chosen one, just a boy with a task and an untested will. When Ulrich dies, perhaps by fate, perhaps by design, Galen takes his magic amulet, carries the flame, and steps across a threshold older than any map. Something ancient is dying, and something colder is taking its place. At the heart of Dragonslayer lies a clash between old orders and new empires. Not just sorcery and monarchy, but deeper binaries. Magic versus doctrine. Nature versus civilization. Belief versus obedience. Structuralism helps us see the architecture, the opposition between systems, the way meaning forms from contrast. But here, those binaries begin to erode. Ulrich stands for a world ruled by mystery and myth. His magic is ancient, imprecise, more ritual than science. The priest, by contrast, offers a new order, rational on its surface, but just as mystic beneath. Only the names have changed. This is cultural hegemony in action, the absorption of belief into new institutions, where old symbols are either weaponized or rewritten. The amulet, once a talisman of personal power, becomes unstable when worn by Galen, a figure not ready to bear its weight. Its magic punishes arrogance. It reflects the user's understanding. Only when Galen chooses humility does it finally serve his purpose. The dragon, Vermithrax pejorative, isn't just a beast. She is the semiotic titan of this world. She represents nature's unchecked force, the wrath of imbalance, and the gradually vanishing memory of a world governed by deeper laws than those of kings or creeds. But she must be killed. Not because she's evil. She isn't. Her existence is a threat to the system. And so the kingdom absorbs her death. The crown takes credit. The cross takes power. This is the threshold of cultural hegemony, where myth is stripped of meaning and ritual becomes routine. What survives isn't magic. It's the machinery of power, grinding forward without mystery or mercy. Robbins isn't just asking what becomes of kings. He's asking what survives when sorcery fades, when dragons fall and the old gods go quiet, when firelight gives way to dogma and the mythic tales that once bound the world are replaced with proclamations carved in stone. The old stories are not forgotten. They're revised, scrubbed clean of danger, sanitized for obedience. The dragon becomes a symbol of evil, the priest a vessel of truth, and those who once trembled in awe now bow without question. Wonder becomes weakness, mystery becomes heresy, and the sacred is hollowed out until all that's left is the shape of belief. All of it traded away for the illusion of certainty. Ulrich recognized that the world no longer welcomed the gradual emergence of magic. He realized that the only path ahead was through fire, his own. And so the mentor dies at the threshold, not as a sign of failure, but as part of his plan. Galen isn't summoned by prophecy. He rises because the world demands it. Ulrich vanishes, and with him, the last voice of the old ways. The amulet Galen receives burns in his hands the first time he uses it, reminding us that power in this world is sacred. Galen steps forward because there's no one else left who can. So, this is not the story of an extraordinary prodigy. It is the narrative of someone gradually earning their worth. Each spell possesses a question. Every success serves as a reminder of how much remains unknown to him. Valerian, played by Caitlin Clark, walks beside Galen, not as sidekick, but as mirror. She slips between masks, girl and boy, servant and heiress, outsider and oracle. In her, the liminal becomes survival strategy. She adapts because she must. In a world that demands certainty, ambiguity becomes its own kind of magic. She is a figure caught between fading myths and rising orders, refusing to choose just one face because none of them are safe for long. Dragonslayer immerses us in a world on the brink of change. The production design is thick with texture. Mud-caked boots, rusted armor, soot-blackened altars. This is a world built to endure, not inspire. The dragon, a myth summoned through shadow and sound, feels ancient before we see her. Her wings scrape against the cavern walls like tectonic plates shifting. She snarls through echo. She bleeds smoke. Every frame she inhabits feels heavier because she's in it. The rituals around her become their own performance. Sacrifices are staged with practiced horror. Drums, torches, and readings from tattered scrolls. The spectacle is intentional. It isn't about saving the kingdom. It's about keeping the illusion alive. And as the film nears its final act, that illusion begins to crack. Valerian removes the mask and exposes the kingdom's fear of fluid identity. The princess steps into the lottery and makes clear that status is no shield. Galen sees the crown not as stewardship, but as spectacle. And the people? They stop asking for truth and start listening to sermons. What began as a dance to please the gods becomes something colder. A transfer of power from one illusion to another. Not faith, not freedom, but a system that runs on fear dressed up as order. The illusion begins to crack when the old systems, sacrifice, sorcery, monarchy, can no longer disguise the power structures they serve. And rather than disappear, those structures simply evolve into new myths. Cleaned, institutionalized, and dressed in the robes of righteousness. Before the kingdom ever called his name, Ulrich knew the shape of his own ending. He faced death not with fear, but with preparation. A plan buried beneath riddles. A resurrection hidden in ashes. The last sorcerer of a dying age, setting the stage for one final act. Galen doesn't understand the truth until it's too late to turn back. The amulet wasn't just a conduit for magic, it was a tether to Ulrich's essential nature. When Galen scatters the ashes over the lake of fire, the spell ignites. And when the dragon takes to the sky once more, so does Ulrich. Not reborn, but returned. Bound to flame. Summoned by belief, wielding the last spell the world will ever know. When he confronts Vermithrax, there are no boasts, no glory, only necessity. The dragon doesn't just fall in battle. It's offered up like an old god, slain not by hatred, but by inevitability. By a sorcerer who knows that to end an age, you must walk willingly into its final fire. Ulrich's body burns, and with it, the last true act of magic. But the people don't see it. They see a king posing beside the carcass, a priest proclaiming divine victory, because progress demands a corpse to stand on. They do not speak Ulrich's name. And so the Slayer becomes a footnote. The myth belongs to the crown now. The story bends toward the ones who stayed safe. Dragonslayer is not solely about mythic monsters. It serves as a reflection of systems that endure by incorporating into themselves the very threats they face. The dragon may perish, but the rituals persist. Magic may burn away, but something more impassive replaces it. Ulrich understood the significance of the exchange, sensing that an era was drawing to a close. His death was not a defeat, but a boundary. A last-ditch effort to try and hold back the relentless tide of change. Galen inherits more than magic. He inherits the hush that follows a dying age. He leaves with no throne, no ballad, no legacy. Only the weight of knowing what was lost. He walks into history's shadows, carrying the last spark of a truth no one will remember. The next chapter will be written by those who never knew what magic meant. Faith replaces fire. The priest gathers his flock unto him. The king remains upon his throne. The people celebrate, blind to the age that has just ended. The dragon is gone, its fire silenced, its threat erased, and in its place rises something colder. A kingdom built on regulations, rituals, and rewritten stories. The people cheer because they've been told to. They name the king a hero. They crown the priest as truth. But the real slayer lies in ash, and no one remembers his name. Dragonslayer is not the tale of a hero's triumph. It is a funeral for the old gods, and a warning whispered through smoke and ember. Power does not die. It only changes names. That's your thought for the day. Minimum commitment, maximum meaning. See you next time. The Minimum Commitment is produced, recorded, and edited by Don Lawler. Music by Don Lawler.